Parallel cinema is a film movement in Indian cinema that originated in the state of West Bengal in the 1950s as an alternative to the mainstream commercial Indian cinema. Inspired by Italian neorealism, parallel cinema began just before the French New Wave and Japanese New Wave and was a precursor to the Indian New Wave of the 1960s. The movement was initially led by Bengali cinema and produced internationally acclaimed filmmakers such as Satyajit Ray, Mrinal Sen, Ritwik Ghatak, Tapan Sinha, and others. It later gained prominence in other film industries of India. During the formative period of Indian parallel cinema in the 1940s and 1950s, the movement was influenced by Italian cinema and French cinema. Satyajit Ray particularly cited Italian filmmaker Vittorio De Sica's Bicycle Thieves 1948 and French filmmaker Jean Renoir's The River 1951, which he assisted, as influences on his debut film Pather Panchali 1955, alongside influences from Bengali literature and classical Indian theatre. Bimal Roy's Do Bigha Zameen 1953 was also influenced by De Sica's Bicycle Thieves. Parallel cinema is known for its serious content, realism and naturalism, symbolic elements with a keen eye on the socio-political climate of the times, and for the general rejection of unnecessarily inserted song and dance routines that are typical of mainstream Indian films. It was very different from the mainstream cinema of the times in terms of its structure and in terms of the kind of themes it explored and narratives that it chose to talk about. Realism in Indian cinema dates back to the 1920s and 1930s. One of the earliest examples was Baburao Penton's 1925 silent film Saukari Pash, about a poor peasant portrayed by V. Shantaram, who loses his land to a greedy moneylender and is forced to migrate to the city to become a mill worker. Shantaram's film Duniya Na Mane 1937 also critiqued the treatment of women in Indian society. The parallel cinema movement began to take shape from the late 1940s by pioneers such as Satyajit Ray, Ritwik Ghatak, Bimal Roy, Mrinal Sen, Tapan Sinha, Khwaja Ahmad Abbas, Buddhadeb Dasgupta, Chetan Anand, Guru Dutt and V. Shantaram. This period is considered part of the golden age of Indian cinema. This cinema borrowed heavily from the Indian literature of the times, hence became an important study of the contemporary Indian society and is now used by scholars and historians alike to map the changing demographics and socio-economic as well as political temperament of the Indian populace. Right from its inception, Indian cinema has had people who wanted to and did use the medium for more than entertainment. They used it to highlight the prevalent issues and sometimes to throw open new issues for the public. Early examples of Indian cinema's social realist movement include Dharti Ke Lal 1946, a film about the Bengal famine, of 1943, directed and written by Khwaja Ahmad Abbas, and Nicha Nagar 1946, a film directed by Chetan Anand and written by Khwaja Ahmad Abbas that won the grand prize at the first Cannes Film Festival. Since then, Indian independent films were frequently in competition for the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival throughout the 1950s and the early 1960s, with some of them winning major prizes during the 1950s and the 1960s. These filmmakers created a genre of films which depicted reality from an artful perspective. Most films made during this period were funded by state governments. The most famous Indian neorealist was the Bengali film director Satyajit Ray, followed by Shyam Benegal, Mrinal Sen, Adoor Gopalakrishnan, G. Aravindan and Girish Kasaravalli. Ray's most famous films were Pather Panchali 1955, Aparajito 1956 and Apur Sansar 1959, which formed the Apu Trilogy. Produced on a shoestring budget of Rs 1,50,000 or $3,000, the three films won major prizes at the Cannes, Berlin and Venice film festivals. Certain art films have also garnered commercial success and successfully combined features of both art and commercial cinema. An early example of this was Bimal Roy's Do Bigha Zameen 1953, which was both a commercial and critical success. The film won the international prize at the 1954 Cannes Film Festival and paved the way for the Indian New Wave. Hrishikesh Mukherjee, one of Hindi cinema's most successful filmmakers, was named the pioneer of middle cinema and was renowned for making films that reflected the changing middle class ethos. Mukherjee carved a middle path between the extravagance of mainstream cinema and the stark realism of art cinema. He made Ashirwad 1968, Guddi 1971, Anand 1971, Bawarchi 1972, Khoobsurat 1980. Renowned filmmaker Basu Chatterjee also built his plots on middle-class lives and directed films like Sara Aakash 1969, Piya Ka Ghar 1972, Rajnigandha 1974, and Ek Ruka Hua Faisla 1986. Another filmmaker to integrate art and commercial cinema was Guru Dutt. He made Paisa 1957, Kagaz Ke Phool 1959. In the 1960s, the Indian government began financing independent art films based on Indian themes and setting up of the National Film Archives of India (NFAI) and the Film and Television Institute of India (FTII) in Pune. Many of the directors were graduates of FTII. By facilitating exposure of indigenous creative talent to the best of world cinema, these bodies nurtured a new crop of filmmakers who wanted to explore and use the power of the film medium. The Bengali film director Ritwik Ghatak was a professor at the institute and a well-known director. Unlike Ray, however, Ghatak did not gain international fame during his lifetime. For example, Ghatak's Nagrik 1952 was perhaps the earliest example of Bengali art film, preceding Ray's Pather Panchali by 3 years, but was not released until after his death in 1977. His first commercial release, Ajantrik 1958, was also one of the earliest films to portray an inanimate object, in this case an automobile, as a character in the story many years before the Harvey films. The protagonist of Ajantrik, Bimal, can also be seen as an influence on the cynical cab driver Narsingh, played by Soumitra Chatterjee, in Satyajit Ray's Abhijan 1962. Mrinal Sen's Bhuvan Shom 1969, set in the 1940s, Bhuvan Shom not only launched a new kind of cinema but was also an attack on the establishment. It was the first low-budget Hindi film to become a landmark in the history of Indian cinema. He also made Mrigaya 1976, Ek Din Achanak 1989. Buddhadeb Dasgupta made Tahader Katha 1992. Realism became the mantra for the new breed of filmmakers. Fresh from the FTI, Mani Kaul and Kumar Sahni both admitted being influenced by the works of Robert Bresson and Andrei Tarkovsky. Parallel cinema never really carried mass appeal. It was meant for niche. Only a certain section in the audience would be interested in this kind of cinema. The topics explored in these films were issue-based, derived from the socio-political, socio-economical milieu of the nation. Parallel cinema did away with the song and dance routine. Unless and until a song would be required to tell the story or to push the story forward, there would be no song and dance in the film. Their films explored issues like casteism in the society, position of women and their objectification as well as subjugation by males or by the patriarchal structure of the society. These films also talked about the class struggle and the class gap that existed at that point of time in the country. Filmmakers were also exploring themes on partition and the feeling of rootlessness that was associated with it. Films also explored themes like communal disharmony and told tales of the peasant class of the society. The cinema of Karnataka saw its first ray of hope of surrealism in N. Lakshminarayan's directorial debut Nandi 1964. It set a landmark by being the first ever Kannada film to screen at an international film festival. Girish Kasaravalli, Girish Karnad and B. Karanth led the way for parallel cinema in the Kannada film industry. Karanth's masterpiece Chomnadodi 1974 documented caste discrimination in rural India. Karnad's Kadu 1973 and Girish Kasaravalli's Ghatashraddha 1977 were films that firmly and prominently placed Kannada cinema on the Indian New Wave cinema map. During the 1970s and the 1980s, parallel cinema entered into the limelight of Hindi cinema to a much wider extent. This was led by such directors as Gulzar, Shyam Benegal, Mani Kaul, Rajinder Singh Bedi, Kantilal Rathod and Saeed Akhtar Mirza, and later on directors like Govind Nihalani becoming the main directors of this period's Indian art cinema. Mani Kaul's first several films, Uski Roti 1971, Ashadh Ka Ek Din 1972, Duvidha 1974, Satah Se Uta Aadmi 1980 were critically appreciated and held to high esteem in the international spotlight. Benegal's directorial debut Ankur 1974 was a major critical success and was followed by numerous works that created another field in the movement. His first three films form a thematic trilogy. Ankur deals with the slow transformation of the feudal system in India. Nishant 1975 shows a kind of actual confrontation between feudal value system and a new emerging rural society in India. In Manthan 1976, one sees social change actually coming. He also made Bhumika 1977, Junoon 1978, Mandi 1983. Govind Nihalani, Benegal's renowned cinematographer for more than a decade, emerged as a powerful filmmaker in his own right in the early 80s. His debut film Akrosh 1988 exposed the exploitation of tribals in rural India. He also made Ardha Satya 1983, Tamas 1988. Kumar Shani, a student of Ritwik Ghatak, released his first feature Maya Darpan 1972, which became a landmark film of Indian art cinema. He also made Kasba 1991. M.S. Satyu made Garm Hawa 1975, which poignantly depicted the hurt and insecurity of Indian Muslims in post-partition India. Tapan Sinha made Ek Doctor Ki Maut 1990. Kamal Swaroop made Om Darbadar 1988. Saeed Akhtar Mirza's Albert Pinto Ko Gussa Kyun Aata Hai 1980 provided some insights into the world of Christian minority groups in India. Likewise, Salim Langdepe Matro 1989 and Nasim 1995 document Mirza's concern for sections within the Indian Muslim community. Another of his earlier works was Mohan Joshi Hazir Ho 1985. Mira Nair made Salam Bombay 1988. These filmmakers tried to promote realism in their own different styles, though many of them often accepted certain conventions of popular cinema. Parallel cinema of this time gave careers to a whole new breed of young actors, including Shabana Azmi, Smita Patil, Amol Palekar, Om Puri, Naseeruddin Shah, Amrish Puri, Mohan Aagashe, Kulbhushan Kharbanda, Pankaj Kapoor, Dipti Nawal, Farooq Sheikh. Adoor Gopalakrishnan extended the Indian new wave to Malayalam cinema with his maiden feature film Swayamvaram in 1972. Long after the golden age of Indian cinema, Malayalam cinema experienced its own golden age in the 1980s and early 1990s. Some of the most acclaimed Indian filmmakers at the time were from the Malayalam industry, including Adoor Gopalakrishnan, K.P. Kumaran, G. Aravindan, John Abraham, Padmarajan, Bharatan, T.V. Chandran and Shaji N. Karun. Gopalakrishnan, who is often considered to be Satyajit Ray's spiritual heir, directed some of his most acclaimed films during this period, including Ilipaddayam 1981, which won the Sutherland Trophy at the London Film Festival, as well as Mathilukal 1989, which won major prizes at the Venice Film Festival. Shaji N. Karun's debut film Piravi 1989 won the Camera d'Or at the 1989 Cannes Film Festival, while his second film Swaham 1994 was in competition for the Palme d'Or at the 1994 Cannes Film Festival. His third film, Vanaprastham 1999, was also selected to Cannes Film Festival, making him the only Indian filmmaker who could take consecutively 3 films to Cannes. Yamti Vasudevan Nair made Nirmalyam 1973, G. Aravindan made Thampu 1978. K. Bhalchandar, C.V. Sridhar, Mahendran, Balu Mahendra, Bharti Raja, Mani Ratnam, Kamal Hassan, Bala, Selvaraghavan, Miskin, Vetrimaran and Ram have done the same for Tamil cinema. During the domination of commercial cinema in Telugu, Pattabhi Rami Reddy, K.N.T. Shastri, B. Narsingh Rao and Akkineni Kutum Rao pioneered Telugu parallel cinema to international recognition. Dada Saheb Phalke, V. Shantaram, Jabbar Patel, Sumitra Bhave, Sunil Suktankar, Umesh Kulkarni, Sachin Kundalkar, Sandeep Sawant, Chaitanya Tamane, Nagaraj Manjule did it for the Marathi cinema. Films like Jait Re Jait 1977, Mukta 1994, Doghi 1995, Shwas 2004, Court 2014, Elizabeth Ekadashi 2014, Henry 2013, Gandha 2009, Vihir 2009. Bhabendranath Saikia and Jahanu Barua did it for Assamese cinema, while Arivam Sham Sharma pioneered parallel movies in Manipuri cinema. Many literary stalwarts entered or collaborated with cinema in this period like Vijay Tendulkar. With the passage of time, many a regional filmmaker was pulled into the vortex of Hindi cinema for drawing wider audiences and greater mass appeal. Ketan Mehta, after making a breakthrough with a Gujarati film Bhavni Bhavai 1980, shifted to Hindi with 2 significant films, Holi 1983 and Mirch Masala 1986. Likewise, Marathi filmmaker Jabbar Patel made Hindi versions of Umbertha 1982 as Subha. Bengali filmmaker Buddhadeb Dasgupta made his Andhi Gali in Hindi, and Kannada filmmaker Girish Karnad made two Hindi films, Godhuli 1977 and Utsav 1984. Even veterans like Satyajit Ray made an excellent film in Hindi called Shatranj Ke Khiladi 1978, based on a story by the famous Hindi writer Munshi Premchand. Art cinema, parallel cinema, alternative cinema, these are all terms that have long been used to describe the Indian new wave cinema. Middle cinema was another name that gradually came to be associated with parallel cinema, especially the films by Shyam Benegal, Hrishikesh Mukherjee, Basu Chatterjee. By the early 1990s, the rising costs involved in film production and the commercialization of the films had a negative impact on the art films. The fact that investment returns cannot be guaranteed made art films less popular amongst filmmakers. One of the major reasons for the decline of the parallel cinema in India is that the NFDC did not seriously look into the distribution or exhibition of these films. The mainstream exhibition system did not pick up these films because these films did not have the so-called entertainment value that they were looking for. There was a talk of building small theatres for such films, but there was no serious attempt made to realize this alternative mode of exhibition. Thus, it led to a few film societies to screen these films, that too on a single screening basis. The advent of television and its popularity saw the film society movement decline. Gradually, the government reduced the patronage of such films. The term parallel cinema has started being applied to offbeat films produced in Hindi cinema, where art films have begun experiencing a resurgence. This led to the emergence of distinct genre known as Mumbai Noir, urban films reflecting social problems in the city of Mumbai. The introduction of Mumbai Noir was marked by Ram Gopal Varma's Satya 1998. However, the Mumbai Noir is a genre that is not considered artistic in ambition, even though it concentrates on realistic portrayal of the Mumbai underworld. These are generally commercial films. With the advent of multiplexes, films like Khosla Ka Ghosla 2006, Being Cyrus 2005, Dev D 2009 started coming to the foray. Other modern examples of art films produced in India which are classified as part of the parallel cinema genre include Rituparno Ghosh 19 April 1995, Utsav 2000 and Dahan 1997, Tarun Mujumdar's Alo 2003, Maniratnam's Yuva 2004, Nagesh Kuknur's Teen Diware 2003 and Door 2006, Manish Jha's Mathrubhumi 2004, Sudhir Mishra's Hazaro Khwaishe Aisi 2005, Pan Nalin's Valley of Flowers 2006, Onir's My Brother Nikhil 2005 and Bus Ek Pal 2006, Anurag Kashyap's Black Friday 2007 and That Girl in Yellow Boat 2010, Vikramaditya Motwane's Udan 2009, Dibakar Banerjee's LSD 2010, Kiran Rao's Dhobi Ghat 2010, Amit Datta's Sonchidi 2011, Anand Gandhi's Ship of Thesis 2013, Neeraj Ghewan's Masan 2015, Rajat Kapoor's Aankho Dekhi 2013, and Ritesh Batra's The Lunchbox 2013. Independent films spoken in Indian English include Revti's Mitra, My Friend 2002, Aparna Sen's Mr. and Miss Iyer 2002 and 15 Park Avenue 2006, Homi Arjania's Being Cyrus 2006, Rituparno Ghosh The Last Layer 2007 and Sunit Taraporwala's Little Zizou 2009. Amir Khan, with his production house, introduced his own brand of social cinema in the early 21st century, blurring the distinction between commercial masala films and realistic parallel cinema, combining the entertainment and production values of the former with the believable narrative and strong messages of the latter. He has helped introduce parallel cinema to mainstream audiences, with his films earning both commercial success and critical acclaim in India and overseas. People Alive 2010, Dhobi Ghat 2011, Lapata Ladies 2024. NFDC in 2007 launched an international marketplace for films called the Film Bazaar on the lines of major film markets in the world such as Cannes. Running alongside or around the same time as the International Film Festival of India in Goa, it is attended by sales agents, producers, financiers and festival programmers from across the world. Its purpose is to facilitate projects through partnerships rather than primarily fund films as was done earlier. Ever since Chetan Anand's Nichanagar won the grand prize at the inaugural Cannes Film Festival in 1946, Indian parallel cinema films frequently appeared in international fora and film festivals for the next several decades. This allowed Indian independent filmmakers to reach a global audience. The most influential among them was Satyajit Ray, whose films became successful among European, American and Asian audiences. His work subsequently had a worldwide impact with filmmakers such as Martin Scorsese, James Ivory, Abbas Kiarostami, Elia Kazan, Francois Truffaut, Carlos Saura and Wes Anderson being influenced by his cinematic style, and many others such as Akira Kurosawa praising his work. The youthful coming-of-age dramas that have flooded art houses since the mid-50s owe a tremendous debt to the Apu Trilogy 1955 to 1959. Ray's film Kanchenjunga 1962 introduced a narrative structure that resembles later hyperlink cinema. Ray's 1967 script for a film to be called The Alien, which was eventually cancelled, is widely believed to have been the inspiration for Steven Spielberg's E.T. 1982. Ira Sachs' 40 Shades of Blue 2005 was a loose remake of Charulata, and Gregory Nava's My Family 1995. The final scene is duplicated from the final scene of The World of Apu 1959. Another prominent filmmaker is Mrinal Sen, whose films have been well known for the Marxist views. During his career, Mrinal Sen's films have received awards from almost all major film festivals, including Cannes, Berlin, Venice, Moscow, Karlovy Vary, Montreal, Chicago, and Cairo. Retrospectives of his films have been shown in almost all major cities of the world. Another Bengali independent filmmaker, Ritwik Ghatak, began reaching a global audience long after his death, beginning in the 1990s. A project to restore Ghatak's films was undertaken, and international exhibitions and subsequent DVD release have belatedly generated an increasingly global audience. Alongside Ray's films, Ghatak's films have also appeared in several all-time greatest film polls. A number of Satyajit Ray films appeared in the Sight and Sound Critics poll, including the Apu Trilogy, The Music Room, Charulata, and Days and Nights in the Forest. The 2002 Sight and Sound Critics and Directors poll also included the Guru Dutt films Paisa and Kagaz Ke Phool and Ritwik Ghatak film Meghe Dhake Tara and Komal Gandhar. In 1998, the critics poll conducted by the Asian film magazine Cinemaya included the Apu Trilogy, Charulata and The Music Room, and Ghatak's Suvarna Rekha. In 1999, the Village Voice Top 250 Best Films of the Century critics poll also included the Apu Trilogy. The Apu Trilogy, Paisa and Mani Ratnam's Nayakan were also included in Time magazine's all-time 100 best movies list in 2005. In 1992, the Sight and Sound Critics poll ranked Ray at number 7 in its list of top 10 directors of all time, while Dutt was ranked number 73 in the 2002 Sight and Sound Greatest Directors poll. The cinematographer Subrata Mitra, who made his debut with Ray's The Apu Trilogy, also had an important influence on cinematography across the world. One of his most important technique was bounce lighting to recreate the effect of daylight on sets. He pioneered the technique while filming Aparajito 1956, the second part of the Apu Trilogy. Some of the experimental techniques which Satyajit Ray pioneered include photonegative flashbacks and X-ray digressions while filming Pratidwandi 1972. Enjoy the films. If you enjoyed this video, then please like and share this video. Do subscribe to the channel and don't forget to click the bell icon.